There is a level of life where nothing shakes you. Not because life became easy, but because you became unshakable. Most people live reacting to opinions, reacting to pressure, reacting to problems. And every reaction is a loss of power. But there is another way to live. A way where you act as if nothing affects you. Not because you don't feel, but because you have decided that your feelings will no longer control your future. See, calmness is not weakness. Calmness is control. When everything around you is loud and you remain quiet within yourself, that is power. Because the world cannot manipulate a man who has mastered his emotions. You must understand this. Every time you react emotionally, you give away your authority. Every time you lose your peace, you lose your position. But when you stay calm, you stay in charge. And those who are in charge of themselves eventually take charge of their lives. Now listen carefully. Time does not respond to chaos. Time responds to clarity. If your mind is scattered, your life will be scattered. If your emotions are unstable, your results will be unstable. That is why powerful people protect their time and their state of mind. Because they understand when you cannot build a great life with a distracted spirit. You cannot create results while reacting to everything. You must become selective. Selective with your energy. Selective with your focus. Selective with what deserves your attention. Because not everything deserves a response. Some things are sent to distract you. Some people are sent to test you. Some situations are designed to pull you out of position. But if you remain calm, you remain dangerous. Because a calm mind sees what others miss. A calm spirit moves when others hesitate. When a calm person wins while others are still reacting. Now let me take you deeper. Maximizing time is not about doing more. It is about becoming more. More disciplined, more focused, more intentional. Because time is life in visible form. And if you waste your time, you are not just losing hours. You are losing your future. So you must begin to live differently. Wake up with purpose. Move with direction. Think with clarity. And guard your mind like it is the most valuable asset you have. Because it is. Do not allow small things to disturb your big vision. Do not allow temporary emotions to destroy permanent opportunities. And never allow external noise to silence your internal calling. Because the moment you master your emotions, the moment you control your reactions, the moment you become calm in the middle of chaos, that is the moment. You become unstoppable. The world is not waiting for the most talented. It is waiting for the most controlled. So walk into every situation like nothing can shake you. Move through life like your time is too valuable to waste. And build your future with a mind so calm, a spirit so disciplined, and a focus so sharp that nothing and no one can ever take you out of position again. Emotional control is power, not weakness. Most people misunderstand this completely. They think power is loud, aggressive, reactive. They believe strength is shown by how quickly you respond, how intensely you feel, how visibly you express what's happening inside you. But that is not power. That is exposure. That is vulnerability without direction. Real power is quiet. It is controlled. It is deliberate. When you cannot control your emotions, you become predictable. When? And when you are predictable, you are controllable. Anyone who understands your triggers can move you, disturb you, redirect your focus without your permission. A single word, a small situation, an unexpected challenge, and suddenly your peace is gone. When your clarity is gone, your direction is broken. That is not strength. That is dependency on circumstances. But when you develop emotional control, something changes. You are no longer reacting to life, you are responding to it. And there is a difference. A reaction is automatic. A response is intentional. A reaction is driven by impulse. A response is guided by purpose. And purpose always produces better results than impulse. When emotional control does not mean you stop feeling, it means your feelings no longer decide your actions. You may feel anger, but you choose discipline. You may feel fear, but you choose courage. You may feel pressure, but you choose calmness. That choice is where power lies, not in the absence of emotion, but in the mastery of it. When? Because every great decision in your life requires clarity. And clarity cannot exist in a disturbed mind. When? When your emotions are unstable, your thinking becomes unstable. You exaggerate problems. You misjudge situations. You make decisions you later regret. But when you are calm, you see things as they truly are. When? You recognize what matters and what doesn't. You move with precision instead of panic. This is why emotional control protects your future. One emotional reaction can destroy what took years to build. One moment of anger can break relationships. One moment of fear can stop opportunities. One moment of frustration can push you to quit too early. But control keeps you aligned. It keeps you steady. It keeps you moving forward even when everything around you is uncertain. And understand this, life will test your emotions constantly. There will always be delays, disappointments, misunderstandings, and pressure. You cannot eliminate these things. When? But you can decide how you meet them. You can decide whether you will be ruled by them or remain above them. When? Those who achieve great things are not those who avoid challenges. They are those who refuse to let challenges control their state of mind. They stay calm when others panic. They stay focused when others get distracted. They stay disciplined when others give in to emotion. And over time, that difference creates distance between them and everyone else. Emotional control is also a form of self-respect. It means you value your peace enough not to hand it over to every situation. When? It means you understand your time and energy are too valuable to be wasted on reactions that produce nothing. When? It means you have decided that your future matters more than your temporary feelings. So you begin to pause. You begin to observe. You begin to choose your response instead of giving it away freely. And in that space between what happens and how you respond, when you find your power, because the person who controls their emotions controls their life. Calmness is a weapon in a chaotic world. When? While others are rushing, reacting, and losing control, the calm individual stands still within, seeing clearly what no one else can see. Chaos clouds judgment. Noise distorts reality. Pressure forces people into decisions they later regret. But calmness cuts through all of that. It creates space between the situation and the response. And in that space lies clarity. When? Precision and power. Most people underestimate calmness because it does not look aggressive. It does not announce itself. when it does not compete for attention. But make no mistake, calmness is not passive. It is controlled strength. When it is the ability to remain grounded when everything around you is unstable. And in a world where instability is constant, when that ability becomes a rare and dangerous advantage, when you are calm, you cannot be easily manipulated. Panic makes people predictable. When a fear makes people impulsive. Anger makes people careless. But calmness makes you untouchable. You do not move because of pressure. You move because of purpose. And when your actions are driven by purpose instead of emotion, they become more effective, more strategic, and more impactful. Calmness also protects your focus. In chaotic environments, distractions multiply. When problems appear bigger than they are, urgency feels overwhelming. But a calm mind filters everything. It identifies what truly matters and ignores what does not. When it allows you to conserve your energy instead of wasting it on every disturbance that comes your way. And understand this, calmness is not something you are born with. It is something you build. It is trained in moments of difficulty, when not in moments of comfort. Every time you choose not to react, you strengthen it. Every time you pause instead of rushing, when you develop it. Every time you hold your composure under pressure, you sharpen it. Because calmness is not the absence of chaos. When it is control in the presence of it, there will always be situations designed to shake you. Unexpected problems, difficult people. When? Delays that test your patience, outcomes you did not plan for. But these moments are not there to destroy you. They are there to reveal you. They expose whether you are governed by your environment or whether you govern yourself. The calm individual does not deny the reality of the situation. They simply refuse to be overwhelmed by it. They assess, they think, when, and then they act with intention. While others are losing time reacting emotionally, the calm person is gaining ground strategically. This is why calmness becomes a weapon. Not because it harms others, but because it positions you above the noise. It allows you to operate with clarity while others operate with confusion. It gives you the advantage of seeing opportunities hidden inside problems. When? It enables you to respond with precision while others waste energy reacting without direction. And over time, this difference compounds. The calm person makes better decisions. Better decisions create better outcomes. Better outcomes build confidence. And confidence reinforces calmness. When? It becomes a cycle of strength that separates you from those who are constantly controlled by their circumstances. So you begin to value calmness differently. You protect it. You refuse to trade it for temporary reactions. You understand that every moment you stay composed, you are gaining control over your life. Because in a chaotic world, when the one who remains calm remains powerful, nothing external should control your internal state. When? That is one of the highest levels of personal power a person can reach. When? Because the moment your internal state is controlled by external conditions, you have handed over your authority. When your peace becomes dependent on people, your focus becomes dependent on situations. When your direction becomes dependent on outcomes you cannot fully control. And that is a dangerous way to live. Most people don't realize how often they give this control away. A comment changes their mood. A delay ruins their day. A mistake breaks their confidence. A difficult person disrupts their focus. Without noticing, when? They allow the outside world to dictate what happens inside them. And once that happens, consistency becomes impossible. One good day lifts them up, one bad moment pulls them down. When? But power begins when you decide that your internal state is your responsibility, not the world's yours. Because the truth is, when? You cannot control everything that happens around you. There will always be unexpected problems, unfair situations, misunderstandings, pressure, and noise. That is part of life. But what you can control completely is how you interpret it, how you process it, when and how you respond to it. And that is where your freedom is. When nothing external controls your internal state, you become stable. When you are no longer shaken by small disturbances, you are no longer distracted by unnecessary noise. You begin to move with consistency. When? Because your state of mind is no longer fluctuating based on circumstances. And consistency is what builds results. Think about it. When? If your emotions rise and fall with every situation, your actions will do the same. Some days you are focused, some days you are not. Some days you are confident, some days you doubt yourself. Some days you move forward, some days you stop. That instability slows everything down. But when your internal state is steady, your actions become steady. And steady actions create momentum. This does not mean you ignore reality. It means you refuse to be ruled by it. You acknowledge what is happening, but you decide what it means. You decide how much space it deserves in your mind. When? You decide whether it deserves your energy or not. That decision is everything. Because most things that disturb people are not powerful when they are simply allowed to be powerful. A situation only controls you when you let it enter your mind without control. When? A person only disturbs you when you allow their behavior to define your state. When? An outcome only breaks you when you tie your identity to it. But when you separate yourself from all of that, you gain clarity. You begin to see that not everything requires a reaction. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everything is worth your peace. When? And once you understand that, you start protecting your internal state like it is your most valuable asset. Because it is. Your internal state determines how you think. Your thinking determines your decisions. Your decisions determine your direction. And your direction determines your future. So if something external can control your internal state, it can influence your entire life. That is why you must take full ownership of it. You must train yourself to pause before reacting, to observe before responding, to question your emotions instead of blindly following them, to stay grounded even when things around you are unstable. And over time, when you will notice a shift, situations that once disturbed you will no longer affect you the same way. People who once distracted you will lose their influence. Problems that once felt overwhelming will become manageable. When? Not because life changed, but because you did. Because you stopped allowing the outside world to control what happens inside you. When? And the moment you reach that point, you become truly free. Time respects those who respect themselves. When most people are not losing time, they are misusing it. And the misuse of time is not a time problem, it is a self-respect problem. When? Because the way you treat your time is a reflection of how you see yourself. If you constantly delay, distract yourself, and give your attention to things that do not matter, you are sending a message to yourself that your life is not a priority. And time responds to that. It slips through your hands. It disappears into unproductive moments. It gets consumed by habits that give nothing in return. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months. And suddenly you realize that nothing has moved forward. Not because you didn't have time, but because you didn't honor it. Self-respect changes that. When you respect yourself, you begin to see your time differently. You no longer treat it as something to pass. You treat it as something to invest. Every hour becomes valuable. When every moment becomes intentional, you begin to ask yourself a different question. Not, how do I spend time? But, is this worthy of my time? And that question alone starts to transform your life. Because time does not slow down for anyone. It does not wait for you to feel ready. It does not adjust itself to your comfort. It moves with or without you. And the only way to align with it is through discipline. Discipline is self-respect in action. It is waking up when you said you would. It is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. When it is staying focused when distractions are pulling you in every direction. It is choosing long-term results over short-term comfort. Every time you act with discipline, you are telling yourself, my future matters. And when your future matters, your behavior changes. You become more selective. You become more focused. You become more intentional with everything you do. And that is when time begins to work with you instead of against you. Because respected time multiplies. An hour used with clarity can produce results that random effort never will. When a focused day can move you further than weeks of distraction. Small, consistent actions, when done with intention, compound into something powerful over time. But this only happens when you stop wasting yourself. Understand this clearly. When time is not just minutes and hours. Time is opportunity. Time is potential. When time is the space where your ideas either become reality or remain unfinished thoughts. When, and if you keep giving that space to distractions, excuses, and unnecessary activities, you are not just losing time. When you are losing the version of yourself that could have been created within it. Self-respect protects you from that loss. When it teaches you to say no to what does not serve you. It teaches you to walk away from what drains you. It teaches you to focus on what builds you. And as you begin to live like that, something shifts inside you. You stop chasing time and you start aligning with it. You stop feeling behind and you start making progress. You stop wasting energy on things that do not matter. And you begin investing it into things that do. When? Because when you respect yourself, you naturally respect your time. And when you respect your time, time begins to reward you. When? But consistently. And over time, consistency becomes results. Results become confidence. When, and confidence becomes a life that reflects the discipline you chose in the moments no one was watching. So if you want more from life, do not ask for more time. Start by respecting the time you already have. Because time gives the most to those who refuse to waste themselves. Discipline protects your destiny. Most people talk about destiny as if it is something guaranteed, something waiting for them no matter how they live. But destiny is not automatic. It is not something you arrive at by chance. It is something you either protect or slowly lose through neglect, distraction, and inconsistency. And the only force strong enough to protect it is discipline. Because your destiny is built in moments no one sees. It is shaped in the decisions you make when you are tired, when you are distracted, when you don't feel like continuing. In those moments, talent is not enough. Motivation is not enough. Even desire is not enough. Only discipline carries you forward when everything else becomes weak. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you are meant to become. Without it, you remain stuck in potential. With it, when you begin to move toward purpose. Every day, you are either building your future or delaying it. And the difference is not found in big, dramatic actions. It is found in small, repeated choices. Waking up when you said you would. Staying focused when distractions appear. When finishing what you started even when the excitement is gone. These are not small things. They are the structure that holds your destiny in place. Because life will constantly try to pull you off track. When there will always be easier options, more comfortable paths, more distractions competing for your attention. And without discipline, when you will drift, you will start strong, but you will not finish. You will have ideas, but you will not execute. When you will see opportunities, but you will not sustain the effort required to turn them into results. That is how destiny gets lost. Not in one moment, but in many small moments of undisciplined choices. But when you develop discipline, you create boundaries around your life. You begin to decide what deserves your time and what does not. You stop reacting to every impulse. You stop following every feeling. You begin to act based on what is necessary when not what is comfortable. And that shift changes everything. Because discipline removes the emotional instability that destroys progress. When it allows you to move forward even when you don't feel inspired. It keeps you consistent when motivation fades. It anchors you when life becomes unpredictable. And consistency is what turns effort into results. Understand this clearly. When your destiny does not require perfection, it requires persistence. You will have days where you feel strong and days where you feel weak. Days where everything flows and days where nothing seems to work. But discipline keeps you moving through all of it. When it does not allow your progress to stop just because your emotions change. That is protection. Because the greatest threat to your destiny is not failure, it is inconsistency. Failure can teach you. Mistakes can guide you. But inconsistency keeps you stuck. It keeps you starting over again and again, never building enough momentum to move forward. And without discipline, that cycle repeats. But once discipline becomes part of who you are, you break that cycle. You begin to build momentum. You begin to see progress. You begin to move with direction instead of randomness. And over time, that steady movement compounds into something powerful. So you stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop depending on how you feel. When you stop making excuses for why things are not moving forward, and you simply do what needs to be done. Again and again. Because you understand something most people ignore. Your destiny is not decided in one big moment. When it is protected in the daily decisions you choose to honor or ignore. And the ones who reach it are not the most talented, when they are the most disciplined. Focus eliminates unnecessary noise. Most people are not lacking time, they are surrounded by noise. Noise in their environment, noise in their mind, noise in their priorities. Too many thoughts, too many distractions, too many directions pulling them at the same time. And because of that, their energy is scattered. Their effort is divided. Their results become inconsistent. But focus changes everything. Focus is the ability to decide what matters and ignore what does not. When it sounds simple, but it is one of the hardest disciplines to master. Because the world is designed to distract you. Every day, when something is competing for your attention, messages, opinions, problems, opportunities, entertainment. When. And if you do not control your focus, all of it will control you. And when everything feels important, nothing actually is. When. That is how noise takes over. You start your day with intention, but then something small pulls your attention away. One distraction turns into another. One interruption leads to another shift in direction. And by the end of the day, you have been busy but not productive. Active but not effective. Because activity is not progress. Only focused activity produces results. Focus eliminates that confusion. It forces you to choose a direction and commit to it. It removes the unnecessary so you can concentrate on the essential. It simplifies your thinking. It sharpens your actions. It aligns your effort with your purpose. And when your effort is aligned, your results begin to accelerate. Because energy works best when it is concentrated. Think about it. When light is scattered, it has little effect. But when it is focused, it becomes powerful enough to cut through solid objects. Your mind works the same way. Scattered attention creates weak results. Focused attention creates impact. But to reach that level, you must become disciplined with what you allow into your space. Not every idea deserves your attention. Not every opportunity deserves your time. Not every opinion deserves your response. And the more selective you become, the clearer your path becomes. Because clarity is not found in adding more. It is found in removing what does not belong. Focus also protects your energy. Every distraction takes something from you. Every unnecessary thought drains you. Every shift in attention costs you momentum. And most people don't realize how much energy they lose just by constantly switching between things that do not matter. But when you focus, you conserve that energy. You move deeper instead of wider. You complete instead of constantly starting. When you build instead of constantly resetting. And that is where real progress happens. Focus is not about doing everything, when it is about doing the right things without interruption. It requires you to say no more often, to delay gratification, to resist the urge to constantly check, respond, or react. Because every time you break your focus, you break your flow. And rebuilding that flow takes time. So the more you protect your focus, the more momentum you create. And momentum is what carries you forward even when things feel slow. Over time, this becomes your advantage. While others are distracted, when you are progressing. While others are reacting, you are building. While others are overwhelmed by noise, you are moving with clarity. And that difference compounds. Because focus is not just a skill, it is a filter. It filters out what is irrelevant. It filters out what is distracting. It filters out what does not serve your direction. And what remains is what truly matters. When? So you begin to operate differently. You stop trying to do everything. You stop giving your attention away freely. When you stop allowing noise to define your day. And you start protecting your focus like it is your most valuable resource, because it is. And once you master it, everything unnecessary disappears, leaving only progress behind. Focus eliminates unnecessary noise. Most people are not lacking time, they are surrounded by noise. Noise in their environment, noise in their mind, noise in their priorities. Too many thoughts, too many distractions, too many directions pulling them at the same time. And because of that, their energy is scattered, their effort is divided, their results become inconsistent. But focus changes everything. Focus is the ability to decide what matters and ignore what does not. It sounds simple, but it is one of the hardest disciplines to master, because the world is designed to distract you. Every day, something is competing for your attention: messages, opinions, problems, opportunities, entertainment. And if you do not control your focus, all of it will control you. And when everything feels important, nothing actually is. That is how noise takes over. You start your day with intention, but then something small pulls your attention away. When one distraction turns into another, one interruption leads to another shift in direction. And by the end of the day, you have been busy but not productive, active but not effective. Because activity is not progress. Only focused activity produces results. Focus eliminates that confusion. It forces you to choose a direction and commit to it. It removes the unnecessary so you can concentrate on the essential. It simplifies your thinking. It sharpens your actions. It aligns your effort with your purpose. And when your effort is aligned, your results begin to accelerate. Because energy works best when it is concentrated. Think about it. When light is scattered, it has little effect. But when it is focused, it becomes powerful enough to cut through solid objects. Your mind works the same way. Scattered attention creates weak results. Focused attention creates impact. But to reach that level, you must become disciplined with what you allow into your space. When not every idea deserves your attention, not every opportunity deserves your time, not every opinion deserves your response. And the more selective you become, the clearer your path becomes. Because clarity is not found in adding more. It is found in removing what does not belong. Focus also protects your energy. Every distraction takes something from you. Every unnecessary thought drains you. Every shift in attention costs you momentum. And most people don't realize how much energy they lose just by constantly switching between things that do not matter. But when you focus, you conserve that energy. You move deeper instead of wider. You complete instead of constantly starting. You build instead of constantly resetting. And that is where real progress happens. Focus is not about doing everything it is about doing the right things without interruption. It requires you to say no more often, to delay gratification to resist the urge to constantly check, respond, or react. Because every time you break your focus, you break your flow. And rebuilding that flow takes time. So the more you protect your focus, the more momentum you create. And the momentum is what carries you forward even when things feel slow. Over time, this becomes your advantage. While others are distracted, when you are progressing. While others are reacting, you are building. While others are overwhelmed by noise, you are moving with clarity. And that difference compounds. Because focus is not just a skill, it is a filter. It filters out what is irrelevant. When it filters out what is distracting, it filters out what does not serve your direction. And what remains is what truly matters. So you begin to operate differently. You stop trying to do everything. You stop giving your attention away freely. When you stop allowing noise to define your day, and you start protecting your focus like it is your most valuable resource. Because it is. And once you master it, everything unnecessary disappears, leaving only progress behind. Reactions waste energy, responses build power. When most people move through life reacting, something happens and instantly they respond without thinking. A word triggers them. When a situation pressures them, an outcome frustrates them. And before they even understand what's happening, when their emotions have already taken control, that is reaction. It is fast, automatic, and unfiltered. And while it may feel natural, it is one of the most expensive habits a person can carry. Because every reaction costs you energy, not just physical energy, but mental clarity, emotional stability, and strategic focus. When you react, you are not choosing, you are being driven. When? Driven by impulse, driven by feeling, driven by the moment. And anything that drives you without your permission is taking power from you. But a response is different. A response is chosen. It is controlled. It is intentional. It does not happen immediately. It happens after awareness, after you pause, after you observe, after you decide what matters and what does not. That pause, no matter how small, is where power begins. Because in that space, when you are no longer controlled by what is happening, you are in control of how you engage with it. And that changes everything. When you react, you often amplify the problem. Small situations become bigger. Minor frustrations turn into major distractions. When you say things you didn't need to say, you take actions you later question. And in the process, you drain yourself. Mentally and emotionally on things that were never worth that level of attention. But when you respond, you conserve energy. You direct it. You use it where it matters. You don't allow every situation to pull something out of you. You become selective. When you begin to understand that not everything deserves a reaction. Not every comment requires a reply. Not every problem requires immediate action. And that understanding alone saves you from unnecessary exhaustion. Because energy is a resource. And like any resource, if it is not managed, it gets wasted. Most people are tired not because they are doing too much, but because they are reacting too much. Their mind is constantly engaged in things that do not move them forward. Arguments, frustrations, distractions, unnecessary thoughts. And all of it drains their capacity to focus on what truly matters. But a person who responds instead of reacts begins to operate differently. They observe before they act. They think before they speak. They evaluate before they decide. And because of that, their actions carry weight. Their words have impact. Their presence feels controlled, stable, and intentional. That is power. Power is not found in how quickly you react. It is found in how well you control your response. Because when you respond, you align your actions with your purpose, not your emotions. You move based on direction, not impulse. You maintain your position instead of being pulled out of it by every external trigger. And over time, this creates a different kind of strength. You become harder to disturb, harder to distract, harder to manipulate. Because people can only control you through your reactions. Once you remove that, you remove their influence. So you begin to slow down. When not in action, but in awareness. You give yourself space to think. You give yourself permission to choose. You refuse to let the moment decide for you. And in doing that, you transform how you move through life. When situations that once drained you no longer have the same effect. Challenges that once overwhelmed you become manageable. People who once triggered you lose their control. Not because the world changed, but because you stopped reacting to it. And the moment you stop reacting is the moment you start building power. Every second must serve a purpose. Most people treat time as something to pass. They wait for it to move, fill it with whatever is available, and hope that somehow it leads them somewhere meaningful. But time does not reward randomness. It does not respond to intention without direction. If you do not assign purpose to your seconds, then your seconds will be consumed by everything that has none. And that is how life slips away unnoticed. Because seconds feel small. They feel insignificant, easy to waste, easy to ignore. But everything that defines your life is built